ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् ॐ श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। ॐ वृषभं चर्षणीनां विश्वरूपमदाभ्यम् बृहस्पतिं वरेण्यम् ॐ तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयः दिवि वचक्षुराततम् ॐ श्रीं ह्रीं ज्योतिर्ब्राह्माय नमः। Can everyone say Hare Ram Krishna 3 times? Om Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Rama Krishna, and say Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha 3 times. Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha, Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha, Om Pam Parasharaya Namaha. So we are in chapter 33, verse 32. Swamsya tritiyage pape jatah shorah pratapavan tasmin shubhagrahe jatah kataro natra samshayah. Swamsya tritiyage pape. Swamsya from the Karakamsha, tritiyage in the third house, pape, a male fig. The words Shubha and Papa are used for functional benefic and functional malefic, as a natural benefic and natural malefic. So it is a functional malefic. If a functional malefic is in the third house from the Karakamsha, then Jataha, a person born like that, Shuraha Pratapavan, means he is bold. Shuraha means one who has bravery. Pratapavan also basically means the same thing. So basically one who is brave, bold, engaged in brave acts. Such a person will be born. Tasmin shubhagrahe jatah kataro natra samshayah. Whereas, if there is a benefic planet there, in that house, the third house from the Karakamsha, then kataraha natra samshayah. Natra samshayah means there is no doubt here. Na atra samshayah. Kataraha means one who is not very, covered. One who is not so bold, one who is timid. So, malefics will, in that house, if there is a malefic, one who will go for a fight. Whereas if it is a benefic, it will be somebody, then the person will be not very bold, but he will take a step back always. He will be more cautious.
Can you say this in Rashi?
No. He is saying Swamsya Tritiyage from the Karakamsha in the third house. So he is not really saying in the Rashi chart. He is saying in the Amsha. Which Amsha? He is not mentioning. So it is, but it is in some Amsha. So it could be that if this is in Dashamsha, relating to the work that somebody does. In the profession, on the professional front, the person will be very, very bold and takes initiative, has the drive. So that may be said in the Dashamsha. Whereas if it is in the Vinshamsha, the chart of spiritual progress, maybe somebody who will do sadhana with lot of intensity, lot of bravery. Suppose somebody tells him, you go and do so-and-so sadhana, you sit in a smashan, let's say, or sit in that temple where nobody goes in the night, sit the whole night and do this mantra. He may bravely go and do. So, depending on which chart you are using, whether it's spiritual progress or career or which chart you are using, maybe Chaturthamsha, the chart of fortune. If it is in the case of D4, the chart that shows fortune, real estate, etc., if there is a malefic in the third from Karakamsha, maybe the person will be very bold and brave in pursuit of fortune. In going abroad or buying land, selling lands, accumulating properties, in those matters, maybe one shows a lot of initiative and bravery. Whereas, if it is a benefic that is there, maybe somebody holds back a little bit. Maybe somebody is very cautious. So when he doesn't specify which Amsha he is talking about, it obviously applies to all relevant Amshas where those results are applicable, like being brave and being timid. They are applicable in many areas of life. So obviously this verse will apply in all those areas of life. The next verse is, but the bottom line is, the third house is the house of the initiative and drive in the person, the spirit of getting things done. How brave one is, how determined one is. It's a determination in a person. So there, if there are malefics, because if it is a benefit, natural functional benefits, they want functional benefits from Lagna. They want the person to be well. They don't care about whether person is wealthy, whether a person does great things or not. They want the person, if you take the functional benefits from Lagna is body. They want the person to be in a good shape. They want the person to be healthy. They want the person to be well endowed. On the other hand, if it is a malefic, the sixth lord, what does he show? Fighting. Third lord, what does he show? Third lord from Lagna. He shows basically jumping into things. So the malefic, the functional malefics from Lagna, they are the ones who show the nature of jumping into things, taking things head on. As functional benefit, they show protecting the body of the person, physically protecting the person and not putting him in the path of risk. So if those planets are placed in the third from Karakamsa, and what is Karakamsa? Like I said earlier, Karaka is, Atmakaraka is soul. It is basically the one sense of this is I, this is who I am. So that is not necessarily body. Body is also part of it, but it is much more than body. For example, somebody may think, I am a great engineer, I get this thing done. Or I am a great priest, when I do pujas, when I do Kumbhabhishekam at any temple, the temple will flourish. Like that, different people will have different sense of this is I, this is what I need to do, this is what I should do. So the sense of I, the definition of I in somebody's mind is captured by Atmakaraka. So the third from it is the instinct of fighting or the instinct of jumping into things from that point of view, from the point of view of that I. So if that is connected with the malefics from Lagna as well, then that sense of getting things done will not hesitate to put one physically at risk. So one can jump into things. Whereas if it is a benefit, he will hold back. Why do this? It may be risky. Let me take it easy. So for that reason, functional benefits and functional benefits in the third house will impact in a different way. Okay, the next verse is, actually just as an example, I was just thinking about my chart. In my D20, the chart of spiritual progress, my Atmakaraka moon is in Cancer. And the third from there is Virgo. It contains debilitated Venus and Sun and Mars. Debilitated Sun, Mars and Venus. And if you basically go by natural, inherent nature of the planets, Sun and Mars are malefics, whereas Venus is the only benefic, but he is debilitated. So it's practically like there are three natural malefics. But the thing is, when it comes to spiritual progress, I know some people who will just jump into anything, whereas I'm very cautious. I'm like, okay, maybe that's a risky idea. Why do I need to do that? Let me do, for example, Satyanarayana Puja, well I can do. Homam, are we sure this is the right approach? Let me study a little bit, and then I'm basically more cautious. And if you look at the functional nature, Venus is Lagna Lord, so he is a functional benefit. Sun, he is the fourth Lord, and Mars, Sun is the fourth Lord, so again he's either a benefic or a neutral. Whereas Mars, he's the seventh Lord and 12th Lord. So again, two neutral planets and one benefic planet. So this verse, basically the second half will apply. I'll be a little more cautious in the matter of spiritual progress. Whatever sadhana, if I decide that I should do a sadhana, I can be very persistent. I can basically sit the whole day. I can sit for 15 hours and just keep meditating. But in order to decide what to do, there are some people who will just say, okay, there is something mentioned in this Abhara book. Let me go and do it. Let me go to Smashan and on the funeral pile, let me just do home. Like that basically. Or let me get a skull and do this. Like that, I'm exposed to various things. I know so many things. But I basically think like, do I need to do it? Why do I need to do it? Let me just take it easy. I don't need to do that. So basically, the way I look at it, I'm basically like a timid person when it comes to spiritual progress. Like that, what I suggest is take your Dashamsa, take your Chaturthamsa, take your Vinshamsa, take your D24 and apply this and see how it applies. The next verse is Swansya Chaturtha Bhavetu Chandra Shukra Yute Ekshite Tatra Va Sotyage Khete Jata Prasadavan Bhave. Swansya Chaturtha Bhavetu. In the fourth house from the Karakamsha, Chandra Shukra Yute Ekshite. Chandra Shukra, Moon and Venus. Yuta means conjoined, Ikshita means aspected. So if either Moon or Venus, actually he is not specifying whether it is either Moon or Venus or Moon and Venus. He is just saying Chandra Shukra Yudekshita, aspected or conjoined by Moon Venus. He is not using either and or are. So it is up to interpretation. So, but let us interpret it in a conservative way, basically either Moon or Venus, because both aspecting will be different. So if either Moon or Venus is aspecting the fourth house from Karakamsha, Tatra va Sotyage Khete, or if there is an exalted planet there, Jataha Prasadavan Bhave. A person born like that has Prasadavan. Prasada means big palaces, big buildings. So a person with either Moon or Venus aspecting the fourth from Karakamsha, or an exalted planet in the fourth from Karakamsha, he will have big houses. Now, which divisional chart probably this applies to? D4. D4 is the chart of your house, your properties, your real estate, your fortune, where you reside and all those things. So D4 is the chart where you should see this. See where the Atmagarga is in D4, take the fourth house from there and see if there is an exalted planet or debilitated planet or if somebody is aspecting it. And why is this the case? Well, Moon and Venus, they show, pardon me? They are the karakas of happiness and blessings in this matter and mind being happy. They are also the karakas of bountifulness in the matter of fortune. Especially Moon and Venus being together is a nice Dhana Yoga. It gives riches. So those planets aspecting the fourth from Karakamsha, it is good for being blessed with a lot of houses. But the thing is, actually, this is not. You can't say just because the fourth from Karakamsha has aspect or conjunction from those planets that somebody will have houses. What it means is, does Karakamsha show what you have? No, it's basically, it's your definition of who you are. It's the way you look at yourself. This is your sense of, this is I. So whatever sense of I you have in your mind, that is enriched by strong fourth house. So what it means is the properties of the person are a part of one's definition of this is who I am. And they are a very important part of one's sense of this is who I am. So somebody without this combination also may have lot of houses, lot of palaces. But they may just be there, he may not care about it. But a person with this combination, he will look at himself as, oh, I have this nice palace. He is proud of that palace, or he is attached to that palace. His sense of I has that palace as a part of it, contains that palace as a part of it. So that defines his definition of I. So he is very attached to it. He or she not only has a big house, but he is very pleased about it. He is very proud about it. The next verse is Shani Rahu Yute Tasmin Jatasya Cha Sila Gruham Aishtikam Kojaketubhyam Guruna Daravam Gruham. Shani Rahu Yute Tasmin. If Saturn and Rahu are there means either occupying or aspecting the fourth house from Karakamsha. If for Moon and Venus, it is Shani or Rahu. Then Tasmin Jatasya, then for the native, Shila Gruham means, Shila means stone, a house made of stones. What it basically means is a house that is it's not really a great house. Maybe a mud house or a hut or something like that. So it's basically not a great house, a very average or below average house given by Saturn and Rahu. Of course, if both Saturn and Rahu, Saturn is aspecting and let's say Venus is also aspecting, then it may be a combination. Depends on who has a stronger aspect, who's dominating. So you may have to balance. But assuming that only Saturn or only Rahu is aspecting the fourth house or conjoining the fourth house, some Karakamsa, then he will have a very moderate or average house. Aishtikakujeketubhyam, if it is Mars and Ketu, it will be a house made of bricks. If it is Mars and Ketu, it is a house made of bricks basically. Aishtikam, Ishta means one that has been burnt. Like it comes from the same dhatu yaj, which gives the word yajna. So from that, if you have done basically yaj plus ta, like gamita means having gone like that basically. That way, ishta is derived from the dhatu yaj. So that means having burnt. That is what it means. So aishtikam means one which has been created by burning. So bricks, for example, you take the sand or whatever, clay, and then you burn it and you get the bricks, right? So a material which has been derived by burning. Because Mars and Ketu will show burning, fire, that kind of thing. This is why Mars and Rahu, they represent that kind of materials which are derived through engineering. It can also mean burning, literally taking, he is talking about material gotten by burning, and you say brick. But the bottom line is, Mars and Ketu are they show fire, and fire is not just physical fire, it is transformation, engineering. Mars and Ketu are the planets of engineering also. So if somebody used some synthetic engineering and created some synthetic materials, right, that will also be Mars and Ketu. So if a house is made of some synthetic materials done through some complicated engineering, that will also be shown by Mars and Ketu.
In the previous book, you said the person sees that he has big buildings.
Right.
But when it comes here, it's specifically saying bricks and
Right. The thing is, if suppose somebody has, let's say, strong Mars in the fourth. So the thing is, somebody has this sense that I have a nice house made of nice technology, like that. So that is what it means.
All high-tech buildings?
Huh?
All high-tech buildings?
Yeah, it could be high-tech. It could be some special glass that was basically derived through some special process, some special looking glass. It can be so many materials. But Mars and Ketu will show something derived from high engineering. Saturn and Rahu will show something very ordinary. Moon and Venus will show something very sophisticated and luxurious. Of course, something sophisticated, something with high-tech can also be sophisticated and luxurious. So they can be Mars and Venus together. So all these different permutations and combinations are possible. But in general, Mars and Ketu represent high-tech, something cutting edge. Saturn and Rahu will represent something very normal, routine. And Moon and Venus will represent something,
beautiful.
something luxurious. And Guruna Daravam Gruham. If it is Jupiter, Daravam Gruham means made with Daru. Daru means wood. So a house made of wood. So what does that mean? Of course, most houses in this country are made of wood. So don't think that everybody there has Jupiter in the fourth house from Karakamsa. That is not the case. Bottom line is, that is why you have to take it, understand why that result is being given, and then adapt it based on the Desikal pathway. You can't just take it literally. So why Jupiter is showing Daru, wood? Jupiter will show something that's natural, something that's coming from nature, without much modification or without much technology, something simple, something natural. So, for example, if you take old day rishis, the ashramas of rishis, the hermitages were made with not only wood, but all these leaves, all the palm leaves, coconut leaves, etc. Right? So that kind of very simple thing. So what Jupiter shows here is not necessarily wood. It is, if you take wood and do all kind of processing, seasoning of it, do weather resistance, then put all the siding, do all the stuff that they do to wood here, is probably shown more by Mars and Ketu, or in some high-end houses probably by Moon and Venus rather than by Jupiter. So what he means, Parasara means by Jupiter gives wood-based houses is natural and simple. Making something with wood is simple. It is close to nature and it is not complicated. So simple kind of living, simple abodes made close to nature will be shown by Jupiter. Similarly, if somebody has a green, using some green technology, that will also be shown by Jupiter.
Is it having anything to do with being Lord of Mindrasi?
Not necessarily, but Jupiter is a sattvic planet and he is a Denic planet.
Having a association with an environment, right? Like if it is Virgo, it's going to be with plants and gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Is this to do with forests?
Pisces is not forest.
Pisces is not.
Pisces is not forest. Pisces, if at all, is water, big bodies of water, like ocean, really big water bodies. So that is what Pisces shows. But the thing is, Pisces is also the sign of rishis. It is a sign of wisdom. It is a sign of contentment. 12th house, right? 12th house is contentment. So Pisces is, Jupiter owns Pisces and also he is the owner of Sagittarius, Dharma. So righteousness and also contentment. Those are the qualities given by Jupiter. He is the teacher of gods. So he is very sattvic. He is the most sattvic of all planets. And he represents wisdom. So for all those reasons, instead of using a lot of sophisticated technology and changing nature, he basically represents blending in with nature and living a very simple and natural life. So for that reason, the house given by Jupiter is something that is green, something that is nature friendly, something that is simple, something uncomplicated. The next verse. तार्णदुरविना प्रोक्तं जातस्य भवनं द्विज चन्द्रे त्वनावृते देशे पत्नी योगः प्रजायते. ओके. तार्णतु रविना प्रोक्तं जातस्य भवनं द्विज. Ravina means with Rahu, with Sun. If Sun is the planet, Proktam, then the result said is Tarnatu, means a house made of grass. Again, just like with the wood, when you say a house made with grass, again you are talking grass, leaves, etc. You are talking about something very natural. Just like Jupiter, who shows dharma and contentment, Sun is also the planet of dharma, and he. Moreover, Sun is the giver of life in this universe. Sun is the giver of life, Aditya. So, if Sun is the planet influencing, again that will show something natural, something simple, and also something environment friendly. So, by grass, don't assume that house will be made with grass, because it's very difficult to make a house with grass. In the old days, maybe you could just take some bush grass, really big grass, and take some leaves and make a parnasala with it. But nowadays, you can't really make a house just with grass. But the bottom line is, again, something very simple and something green. So, the green technologies, etc. that we talk about today, that will basically apply here. And then, Chandre Tvanavrute Deshe Patni Yoga Prajayate. Now earlier he said Moon or Venus will give a luxurious house. Now he is giving one more possibility. Bottom line is he is giving some possibilities. There are several other possibilities. To understand the nature of each planet, there are so many other possibilities. It doesn't have to be just one. Whatever was mentioned is one possibility. So he is giving another possibility at the other extreme for Moon, so that you start thinking about what other results could be given by different planets. So Chandrayetu Anavrute Deshe Patni Yoga Prajayate. He lives with his wife in an anavrita pradesha, means open space. So if it is moon, the residence of the person will be an open space. That means not made of wood or grass or leaves or bricks or nothing basically. There's no, he just lives in nature, in an open space. So that is the result given by moon. Why moon? Why can moon show open space? Well, moon is the planet of happiness. Moon is the planet of mind and mental happiness. So, if the fourth house has a link with moon, the person is happy with what he has. That is possible, like in the very first line, that is possible if somebody has a very luxurious house. Luxurious house hopefully will make you happy. But on the other extreme, somebody can be happy with whatever he has. Even if he is living in the street, suppose he is living happily. It is possible. It is possible for somebody to be living in the open, living on the street and still be happy. Like some yogis or sannyasis used to do. So, what he is saying here is, the point is not that he lives in open space. The point is, even in open space, he will be happy. So, bottom line is, if moon, a benefit moon, a strong moon, not an afflicted moon. If a strong moon is associated with the fourth from Karakamsha, the person will be happy. The person will be, he will not have complaints. It is possible for somebody to be living in a $2 million house and still be complaining, oh, my swimming pool is not, the temperature is not working correctly, like that. There will be some complaint. Or maybe that room is not comfortable, I don't like the color, I don't like the orientation. Somebody can be always unhappy, irrespective of what one has. On the other hand, somebody with a strong happiness in the chart can be happy with whatever he has. Moon is in the? Yeah. Then this is not possible. But the thing is, you could say the same thing with Venus. Venus is also the secondary karaka for happiness. Right? So if Venus influence is there on the fourth house from Karakamsha, he will be happy. Moreover, he didn't only say drishti, he said, occupancy. He said yuta, ikshita. So conjoining or aspecting. So even if moon, let's say moon is the Atmakaraka, then the fourth from moon will be aspected by moon, 75% aspect. So in addition there is also Venus influence that can basically lock things in. But then it also depends on how strong that moon is. Is he afflicted? Is he with Rahu? Or is he alone? Is he debilitated? Is he exalted? Where is he? And from Lagna, what is the house he owns? Is he a functional benefit or a functional benefit? So depending on all those factors, there will be modifications. But in general, moon and Venus are the karakas of happiness and contentment and peace.
But in the two previous verses with, not like the previous ones with Jupiter and Sun,
yeah,
we were talking about the environment or the material with which the house is made or kind of house.
Yeah.
But here where we are referring to kind of the person's happiness rather than the environment again.
So even there, basically, even here we talked about the other things also. Apart from happiness, we said if moon is there, the person, the first line, which we did before you came in, says he will have a luxurious house. So the thing is, if he is there, it is possible that he will have a luxurious house. Similarly, if Jupiter is there, we said he has a very simple house, right? Now again, he may not have a simple house. Let's say, with Jupiter in the fourth from Karakamsha, he may have a luxurious house. But the thing is, in his mind, he doesn't care. For him, being in a big, let's say, a 3,000 square feet house or being in a small room may make no difference. Basically, when you are looking at the fourth house from Karakamsha, you are talking about the attitude of the person. You are not talking about the actual things on the ground. Even though they may correspond also sometimes. You are talking about the attitude of the person. So, if Jupiter is in the fourth from Karakamsha, the attitude of the person is that of somebody who just has simple living. He doesn't expect his house to be luxurious or big or use some high technology. He doesn't care. He is happy. So the thing is, such a person is likely to have a house made of simple material.
So he is referring to, in this case, maybe he would be happy even if he has a house with wood.
Right. But even if he has some other house, he is basically thinking in those terms. He thinks in terms of being responsible to the world, and then he doesn't really have expectations or needs. His needs are simple. If it's Jupiter or Sun, his needs are simple.
What does he exactly mean by in this particular statement? You said he lives with his wife.
Yeah.
And in an open place. Open place would indicate contentment. And
Right.
How does the wife factor pull in?
The thing is, if somebody, let's say somebody is a sannyasi, right? being in an open space is easy. You just sleep on the street and that's it. But the thing is, if you have a family, you have children, you have wife, etc., then there is a more compelling reason to actually have a setup. You can't really say, okay, this park is mine, I'll live on this park bench. You can't do that. So even then, this person may actually, somebody with a strong moon there, may be living in an open space. So what it means is, even when it is challenging to do so, he will still find a way to be happy. He's very easy to make happy, even in challenging situations. The next verse is, Panchame kujarahubham kshayarogasya sambhavah ratrinathena drustabhyam nischayena prajayate. Panchame kujarahubhyam. If in the fifth house from Karakamsha, Mars and Rahu are there, kshayarogasya sambhavah, then the person will have kshayarogam. What is kshayarogam? Tuberculosis, TB. The person will have TB if Mars and Rahu are in the fifth house from Karakamsha. Ratrinathena drustabhyam nischayena prajate. Ratrinathena drustabhyam. If those two planets are aspected by moon, Ratrinatha means the lord of night, moon, then nischayena prajate, then it is sure to happen. So he is saying Mars and Rahu in the fifth from Karakamsha shows disease, especially a disease like TB. And he is saying moon will make it more likely. Why? Why is that the case? Don't we see disease from sixth house? Why is he saying fifth house?
Shows the emotions and
Right?
Is 12 from 6?
Okay.
no disease.
Actually, tell me one thing. Does sixth house show diseases or does it show your fighting? Sixth house is the fighting, right? So the thing is, sixth house will show your fighting spirit. So normally we say sixth house shows disease, but the thing is, it shows what you are fighting. Of course, if you have a disease, you are fighting it. But also, if the sixth is strong, you will have a good fighting ability. So the thing is, even though we say sixth house is the house of disease, it's basically the house of fighting disease. And the 12th from there, the fifth house is the loss of fighting, the ability to fight, giving up of the fighting. So, and moreover, fifth house is the house of Poropunya. So, if the fifth house of Poropunya is afflicted, then there is some sin that you have done which is coming back to you. So it can come in many forms, various misfortunes. If the fifth from Karakamsha is afflicted, there can be so many misfortunes. One of the possibilities is a disease. Now, why Mars and Rahu are showing TB?
Mars is to do with heat and the kind of roga it is.
Yeah.
Mars is to do with
Why Mars and Rahu will show TB?
Not exactly Shaya disease of
what nature?
Kshayaroga is tuberculosis bacteria, right? It's a kind of bacteria which if it infects your lungs,
That means breathing.
you have difficulty with breathing and you will be coughing a lot, blood may come and finally you die. It will basically, the bacteria will overtake your lungs and it will destroy your lungs.
Rahu can show the bacteria.
Yeah, Rahu shows depletion basically, and he can show foreign bodies like bacteria and viruses. And Mars and Rahu together is an evil combination. It shows Mars and Rahu is a Sarpa combination. So it can show various foreign bodies, dangerous, evil foreign bodies, like various bacteria and virus. But why TB specifically? No reason really. This is just one example. Don't think that if Mars and Rahu are there, only TB will come to that person. For example, you won't find any combination for AIDS here, right? So it could be given by the same combination. Bottom line is, some dangerous viruses, because Mars and Rahu can show dangerous things. Mars and Rahu in the fifth from Karakamsha can give some dangerous foreign bodies in your body. Either viruses or bacteria or that kind of things. Parasites also possible. Okay, we'll come to that. So Mars and Rahu will show that. Now why moon? If moon is aspecting them, then it is sure, he said. Why? Why moon's aspect is increasing the likelihood of that?
It means it affects his mind, so what you think is what it is.
Vital.
Yeah, he is a vital energy, vital force, yeah. So, if the vital force is affecting, it should recover, right? Why is it making it sure? So obviously, do you really, forget that Paraka said it. Do you honestly think that if moon, let's say moon is strong, he is Lagna Lord or something, if he is aspecting, do you think that it would actually ensure the result or it would actually moderate the result? It should reduce the result in such a case. So the thing is, but in cases where moon is weak, so even though he hasn't mentioned it, he is obviously talking about an afflicted moon or a weak moon. So if a weak moon is aspecting these planets, then it is certain. Why is that the case? Well, like you said, moon is the planet of mind and also he is the planet of the vital life force, the prana in the person. So if a weak moon is also associated with this combination of Mars and Rahu, it will basically show that there is the life force in the person is weak, the prana in the person is weak, and that is basically adding to the bad Purva Punya.
Because it is happening from Karakamsa. So
Yeah.
the person doesn't have the fighting spirit to fight with the disease. It's not really, it may not really happen. But
Right. Fighting, the planets are in the 12th house from the house of fighting. So he will be giving up the fight. Right. And the moon basically, moon who shows mind, he is also aspecting to them. So the thing is, mind is also his internally at the level of soul, because that is Karakamsa. The level of soul, the fighting spirit is not there. Let's give up, attitude is there. And the mind is also, moon the mind, is also going with that. So the person will not fight that strong.
suppose if you see it in Ramakrishna Paramahamsa chart,
Yeah.
like the disease, so
You can take him as an example and see what is there, because he had a cancer and he did not even fight it. He let it consume him. But the thing is, in his case, the interesting thing is, if he didn't have cancer, for all you know, Ramakrishna mission wouldn't have come, because he had so many of these Sishyas. Vivekananda would come now and then, he will go, then Brahmananda will come. Brahmananda stayed for a while, but several other Sishyas, they were coming and going. They weren't really staying with him for an extended period. So when he had cancer, for a year and a half or a couple of years, all these people, Vivekananda, Brahmananda, Premananda, Yogananda, Shivananda, they all came to him. They basically stayed with him, they took care of him, and they used to meditate in the night. They would put a huge fire, they would sit around it, they will meditate the whole night and sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then get up at 11 o'clock and then take care of Ramakrishna whole afternoon, and again the night do meditation. Like that, the camaraderie was built, and they did a lot of sadhana under his direct supervision. So they all progressed in those couple of years. All of them made a lot of progress, and the camaraderie was created in them. And that was the result. Later, after he left, some of them decided to go back to regular life, get married, live the way their parents wanted. But the camaraderie that was built earlier and Vivekananda's leadership, that basically made sure that they were all together and they overcame all the thoughts of going back to regular life. And that is how they started that mission, Ramakrishna Math. Even though it started in a very humble way, it touched the lives of so many people later. So in the case of Ramakrishna, in the case of saints like Ramakrishna, who are fully realized and yet go through the cycle of life, in their case, it's just a play, it's just a game basically. Whatever happens is a play. Whether it seems good or bad on the onset, it is basically a game. But still it may be visible in the chart, so it will be interesting to see. But which chart should you see? D30. D30 is the chart of evil that happened to you and the suffering that you have to go through. So see it in the D30. Okay. Kuchadrushtau tu janatasya पिटकादिगतो गदो भवेत् पिटकादिगतो भवेत् केतुदृष्टौ तु ग्रहणी जललोकोऽथवा द्विजा. Okay. Now he is talking about, earlier he said moon's aspect. Now he is talking about Mars aspect, Ketu's aspect, etc. So obviously the earlier words which said Kujrahu Bhyam, it would have meant either Mars or Rahu, or it would have meant both Mars and Rahu. Right? So here, by specifically saying Mars is aspecting, if Mars and Rahu are there, how can Mars aspect it again? Right?
Aspecting the fifth house.
Aspecting the fifth house. So basically what he said is Mars and Rahu in the fifth house from Karakamsa. Now, Moon aspecting, then this is the result. If Mars aspecting, this is the result. If Ketu is aspecting, this is the result. Like that he is basically saying. So that is possible only if the previous line was not both, but or. Right? So, so the thing is either Mars or Rahu. Either of them. Either of the male fixed planet being in the fifth from Karakamsa is enough to give some problem, some suffering. And if it is Moon, then this particular disease, whatever we said, is definite. Now, he is saying, if Mars, Kujrastod Jyothishya Petagati Gatu Bhavet. Okay. So he has, if Mars is aspecting the fifth from Karakamsa, then the problem is not necessarily from the foreign bodies, like the TV, etc., but the problem will be big boils, that kind of diseases. Basically, diseases associated with lot of heat in the body. Just as Mars-Rahu combination will show viruses, bacteria, etc., Rahu alone can also show it. But Mars alone is unlikely to show viruses, bacteria, etc. Ketu can show, Rahu can show, Mars-Ketu can show, Mars-Rahu can show. Saturn-Rahu can show, Saturn-Ketu can show. But if it is Mars alone, let us say, then the problem will be boils, etc. Ketu Dushtautu Grahani Jalarogothvasya. If it is Ketu who is there, then the problem will be yes, that is the other thing. So he is saying Ketu Dushtau. If Ketu is affecting, but he hasn't defined Ketu's drishti. So what does he mean? Does he mean Rashi drishti? Or does he mean, what does he mean? It is not clear. Does he mean every planet has seventh aspect, he said. So does Ketu have seventh aspect, even though he doesn't have special aspects? He didn't mention special aspects for Ketu. He said Mars has these special aspects, Rahu has these, Saturn has these, Jupiter has these. For Ketu he didn't mention anything. So does it mean that Ketu has the basic seventh house aspect? It is not clear. So I will not actually, because I don't have a strong opinion, a well-formed opinion. Instead of giving my opinion, I'll just leave it as a question. One possibility is he's talking about all these drishtis here are talking about Rashi drishti, not Graha drishti. That is one possibility. But that is not so easy. The other possibility is, well, Graha drishti Ketu also has. Ketu also has a desire. Even though Ketu stands for desirelessness, he also has a desire. As long as he is in a chart, his role is to give moksha. So his desire is to make the person desireless. So he also has a desire. So the seventh house from him is basically his desire. So you can say that Ketu also has an aspect. And if it's not aspect, Ketu basically conjoining the house, even though he mentioned, that is applicable. But the interesting thing is, he specifically mentioned Drushta. Okay. So the disease is, what was the disease for Ketu? Grahani Jalalovatharta. Grahani means dysentery or dysentery, I don't know how it's pronounced. It's basically diseases of the loose motion and also blood, violent diseases where you become very weak. And Jalaroga means diseases relating to water. For example, diseases relating to water can be interpreted as things like edema, where you have accumulated water in the body. But Ketu giving those diseases makes no sense. Ketu is not the planet of water. Ketu is the planet of small bodies, foreign bodies, etc. And fire, things relating to fire, burning things, acute suffering. That is what Ketu stands for. Water is shown by Moon, Venus, these planets. Or even you can say Jupiter, the Kapha planet can show that. So not Ketu. So when he says Jalaroga, I wouldn't interpret it as edema and that kind of water diseases. What I interpret it as water-borne diseases like cholera. Cholera is, pardon me? Diseases from impure water. Getting bacteria or virus or amoebas, etc. from the water that you drink, from the impure water that you drink. So again, just like Rahu shows tuberculosis earlier, things like AIDS, TB, all these bacteria related, virus bacteria related things. Here also you are talking about small bodies foreign bodies which come into your body through water and infect you. So Ketu will show that kind of diseases.
Does it have any link with co-loading the Jyothishya?
Co-owning the Jalrasi? Yeah, maybe.
And that's
a very good point.
So maybe
That's a very good point. His point is it because Ketu co-owns the sign of Scorpio, which is a Jalrasi, and also it is one of the most evil signs in the chart. But in general, apart from it, Rahu and Ketu show foreign bodies. I mean, they show going abroad from your point of view. They also show things that are coming from outside and entering your body, parasites, amoeba, bacteria, virus, that kind of thing, fungus. Now, Sarahubulike tatra bhayam shudra vishodbhavam budhe paramahamsasya lagudiva prajayate. Okay. Sarahu Gulike Tatra. If Rahu or Gulika are there in that house, then Bhayam Kshudra Vishod Bhayam. Bhayam Kshudra Vishod Bhayam. Means Bhayam means danger or scare, fear. Udbhavam means caused by. By what? Kshudra Visha. Kshudra means evil procedures, like for example, Abhichara. Like in Telugu we say Chatabadi, right? The black magic, that kind of things. So dangers from either black magic or that kind of things, or Visha. Visha means poison. And it can be dangerous poisons, or it can just be food poisoning also. Some kind of undesirable thing getting into your body, undesirable substance getting into your body. And it's not necessarily poison. Suppose, let's say, somebody takes, I know somebody, he had an aneurysm. His father had an aneurysm. Aneurysm is the blood vessel, the wall is thin and it basically blows up like this. The blood vessel will be like this, but in a small area it will be blown. And then the wall is so thin, when the pressure is too high, it can burst and then blood can leak. So blood leaked in the brain, his father died immediately. Even before you take to hospital, if blood is leaking in the brain, you will basically die. So his father died of aneurysm. He was very depressed. He was very attached to his father. And then, what happened was, interestingly, within a few months, he was diagnosed with aneurysm. His doctors basically said, if your father died with aneurysm, there is a chance that you also have it, because it may be genetically, you may be genetically predisposed to it. So get checked. And then there is all kinds of scans of the brain, and they found that he had a couple of aneurysms in his own brain. And then he was very scared, naturally. Because he knew that his father died with it, and if it bursts, that's it. It will just happen. So he was very sad, very unhappy, and then that led to depression, some kind of depression. And then he went to doctors, and the way I look at it, the Western medicine has no idea about how mind works, the psychology of the mind. They are not good at treating psychological problems. They just make a mess of it. There are so many medicines, but the side effects are actually more terrible than the actual problem itself. So these people are good at looking at the body as a machine and then breaking parts and fixing parts. When a particular part has a specific problem that you can diagnose well, they are fixing it. They are good at fixing the machine. But when it comes to things like mind, they have no clue. So what they did is they put him on some they said you have clinical depression. Your depression is very strong, so it's classified as clinical depression. And they put him on some medicines, and those medicines made him very frustrated. The thing is, like I said earlier, typically depression is a Vata condition. Typically. But somebody can have a Kapha depression or Vata depression or Pitta depression also. Pitta depression is you are sad but also you are angry and frustrated. It's a sadness, a depression accompanied by frustration and anger at the world that they are not letting things happen the way you want to happen. Vata depression is you are scared of things, you are afraid, you are anxious. What will happen? You don't know what will happen. You are scared. So that is Vata depression. Vata is basically age. So depression accompanied by age. The other one is depression accompanied by fire, the Pitta depression, where you are frustrated and you are depressed. And Kapha depression, you are basically lazy. You don't feel like doing anything and you are depressed. So there can be depression in all the three kinds of people, unfortunately. But typically depression is a Vata condition. So what happens is when you do studies, when you do controlled studies with a group of people, suppose it is very likely that if you are getting a set of people who have depression, they are likely to be Vata people. So when you do a controlled study, you are effectively studying on Vata people. So, if you give a medicine which will increase the Pitta, it may seem like it's curing the depression in them. So when you release it in the general world, if some people who have a Pitta depression, they take it, they are already angry, frustrated. If it makes them more angry, more frustrated, so it can make them suicidal. It may make them so violent that they can actually go and kill somebody or kill themselves. So that is why you see so many antidepressant medicines recalled in the last 3-4 years, where they said these are actually increasing suicidal tendencies in some people. Some people are actually killing themselves. They are depressed, somebody gives them medicine, instead of curing their depression, it's making them suicidal and they are killing themselves. So that happened a lot in the last 3-4 years. And that makes sense Ayurvedically. So the bottom line is, these people are just groping in the dark when it comes to depression. So this person was put on drugs, and then the way I look at it, they are just poison. The drugs that they are putting him on, they are highly, they are basically very, very artificial substances. They messed up his mind, he was becoming very angry, his depression wasn't being helped, his digestion was messed up, his whole body, he was so uncomfortable with what was happening with his body. Then basically after going through this for 4-5 months, he was basically somebody known to my wife, so he came to me. Though I don't give Ayurvedic medicines to anybody, this person said, I basically whatever you give, please give me something, please help me. So this was the first person that I had Ayurvedic. I gave him some, I made a Ayurvedic medicine, and he basically took the medicine. After 4 months, basically he was now back to normal. His problems went away. So the thing is, one of the things I gave him was basically detoxification. The way I look at it, because of 5 months of antidepressant drugs, his body was drugged. His body had so much poison in it. So I had to detoxify his body before he could be cured of the problem. Now he's actually living happily. This was like 4-5 years back. Now he's perfectly healthy. So the thing is, what I wanted to say is, when you say poison, don't just think of it as things that are labeled as poison, like cyanide or something, or snake poison. Things that are not good for your body, but you ended up taking it, are also poison. So some of the modern medicines will also qualify. Some of the modern medicines which spoil your health also qualify as poison. The second thing is, these days, so many people are taking plastic into their body. They are, you put something plastic in the microwave, you heat it, and then you consume the food. Some plastic particles are getting into the food, so they get into your body. And they go somewhere, depending on your luck. They are absorbed by the blood, or they are absorbed by the colon. They go into the stream. They end up in some part of the body. And then that's poison. If you ask me, plastic is not really meant to be in your body. So that's a poison. And even worse is thermocol. You have these thermocol cups and plates that are used a lot these days. So people put them in the microwave. They are supposed to be microwave safe. What it means is they are safe for the microwave. Microwave won't blow up, but they are not safe for you. So the thermocol is actually, according to a friend of mine who knows these things well, he's a chemical engineer. According to him, it is the worst substance, because even plastic can be broken down by the body through some chemical reactions if you are lucky. But thermocol can never be broken down. It just stays as that molecule. So it's basically something that your body doesn't know how to handle or how to. It just stays as thermocol in the body somewhere. Thermocol molecule. So they can, according to my chemical engineer friend, they can increase cancer a lot. So these days, because of the use of microwave a lot and use of plastics, thermocol, etc., you have certain kinds of cancers increase. Then the percentage of people having some cancers has blown up a lot. So when you say poison, all these substances, thermocol, and also some workers, they inhale cement, asbestos, and some workers who work in coal mines, they get some things in their body. So all these undesirable. And there was a news about some silk workers in India inhaling some chemical that was used in basically the silk was supplied from China. They soaked it in chemical so that it weighs more, and that chemical is basically bad for you. So what happened is, their vision was badly impaired for some 40 or 50 weavers, silk weavers in Karnataka. So things like that. There were some people with radioactive exposure. Pardon me? Pesticides. People who work with pesticides and that gets into their body. All those basically are covered by this. When you say poison, it's not just poison. Kshudra Vishodbhavam Budhe Paramahamsasya Lagudiva Prajayate. Now he is fixing the case. Until now, from the fifth house from Karakamsa, he is giving all kinds of problems. Because fifth house is the house of Purvapanja. But the thing is, the house of Purvapanja is not necessarily the house of not fighting your problems and then suffering. It is also the house of having a blessing as a result of Purvapanja. So, you don't have to fight something because you have a blessing. The fifth house, like I said, is the 12th house of loss from the 6th house of fighting. So you don't fight because maybe you have a blessing, not because you have a problem and you can't fight. So the house of Purva Punya also shows some blessings as a result of previous life. Instead of some suffering as a result of not having enough punya or having sin. So on the negative side, fifth house shows sins and suffering for it. On the positive side, it can also show blessing. So he is saying, Budhe Paramahamsasya Lagudiva Prajayate. If Mercury is there, Paramahamsa means, what is Paramahamsa? Paramahamsa literally means, Hamsa is the mystical being. Literally it means swan, but basically it's the mystical being which can separate milk and water. If you combine milk and water, it can separate the milk and water. So Paramahamsas are people who can change somebody. This is not just a saint. You can say sadhu for saint, you can say yogi. There are so many words. Paramahamsa is, there are different classifications in the scriptures. Paramahamsa is somebody, you go to that person, he will see, every person has milk in him and water in him. Some good qualities and some bad qualities. Some weaknesses, some strengths. He will take your weaknesses and basically he will make you reject them. And he will make you a person of full milk, which means he will make you a very perfect person. So Ramakrishna, for example, when Vivekananda went to him, he had some good qualities. He was a smart person, very intelligent person, very rational person, very truthful person. He never spoke lie. Even when it was inconvenient, he was bold and he stood for truth always. That was his personality. But on the negative side, he was very skeptical. He didn't trust anybody. Any spiritual leader who told him about God, he said, "Did you see God? Why should I believe you?" So like that, he was very skeptical and he was very hard-blooded. Even after spending a few years with Ramakrishna, he fought with Brahmananda saying, "You believe in God in the idol? This God is only Brahman. He has no form. How can you believe in this?" He actually stopped talking to Brahmananda for several months until Ramakrishna insisted, "This is God, you should talk to him." He is, in his mind, he said, "You are right. God is not in the stone. But if he sees God in the stone, why should you object it?" So like this, he was very, even though Vivekananda is portrayed as a great person now, he had some bad qualities as well. And then what Ramakrishna did was, he removed all that water, he made him pure milk. So like that, Paramahamsas are people who make somebody, who remove all the bad qualities from a person. Whoever they come in touch with, they are like ghosts, what do you say, what is that? Philosopher's stone or something. You basically come in touch with it, it becomes gold. Anything that they touch becomes gold. That is Paramahamsa. Even though in today's times, the word is being used. Anybody who thinks he is a good saint calls himself Paramahamsa. In the old days, people did not call themselves Paramahamsa. Other people accepted. After seeing what a person is capable of, he was basically called Paramahamsa by other people. So, in the recent times, the examples are Ramakrishna was called a Paramahamsa and Yogananda, who came to West and taught Kriya Yoga, he was called a Paramahamsa. So, why Mercury makes, and Lagudiva Prajayate. Lagudi means who carries a stick, staff. Bottom line is an ascetic. So, why Mercury is making an ascetic and Paramahamsa, a great saint, a saint of high order. Why Mercury? Why Mercury?
Thinking, analyzing.
Huh?
Thinking and analyzing nature.
Yeah. Okay. Why thinking and analyzing nature will make somebody a Paramahamsa?
Because unless he thinks, unless he analyzes, he cannot separate milk and water.
Yeah. See, once again, let me put it this way. Mercury is a natural benefit, right?
Correct.
So, natural benefits there can give some blessings. Jupiter in the fifth also shows some blessings. He can make a saint. But why Mercury was specifically for Paramahamsa? That is my question. saints can be explained by all benefic planets. If they are strong, always there are riders. Is strong, not afflicted, etc. But why Mercury specifically for Paramahamsa?
That's what I'm thinking. It's an analytical mind.
Okay, you look at Mercury as analytical mind. Do you think that the Paramahamsa needs to be analytical? Ramakrishna was hardly analytical. He could explain things nicely, but the thing is sometimes he would just, I have no clue, I'm just an idiot. This is what Kali says. Like that he would say. Basically he said, I know nothing. Whatever Kali tells me, I'm telling you.
I look at it two ways.
Yeah.
Analytical can mean giving up the whole stuff. I don't just get
But
what's happening.
what I am saying is analytical ability important to touch people's lives and convert people, to bring out the best in people and suppress the worst in people, to associate a bad person and make him a good person, because there is a good in him also. That is what Paramahamsa does. Does that require rational analytical abilities?
Analytical ability, in my view, has a different connotation here too.
Okay.
Because it is not always analyzing something and going by the logic is one way.
Okay.
The other way is, unless you do that at some point of time, you are not coming to the conclusion of just giving up. Because just giving up something also has a rationale behind it.
1 second. We are not talking about this person giving up. You are talking about somebody, he changing somebody. He affecting somebody so that he purchased some quality in him.
Being childlike, being pure.
Yeah, that is one point. Basically, a Paramahamsa is typically very simple, pure and childlike. So, Mercury is childlike. So that is one point. What is I want you to mention one more point. Jupiter can also be childlike, or Venus can also be childlike, even though Mercury is more suitable. There is one more thing. What do you need in order to see? The thing is, all other planets, they have enemies and friends. Even Jupiter has enemies. His own guru Venus is his enemy. He learned from Venus, but Venus is his enemy. Right? Rahu is his enemy. But Mercury, what is good about Mercury? He doesn't really look at anybody as an enemy. Moreover, when he is with Saturn, he behaves like Saturn. When he is with Jupiter, he behaves like Jupiter. He is very flexible. He is like who he is with. So, he can discuss, irrespective of whoever he is with, he can be like that person. So the thing is, how can you change somebody? If you stand on a high pedestal and say, son, you should do so and so thing, will the person change? Not really. You want to change somebody, you have to be with that person. And then you have to slowly, the person should identify with you. And then you basically slowly start behaving in a particular way and the person starts seeing you and he basically modifies his behavior. So if you look at somebody like Ramakrishna, he behaved in one way with,
He gave up eating sugar.
Right, when some mother said, please tell my son not to eat good, he said, I myself eat it, how can I tell him? He stopped eating and then he told her to bring the son after 30 days. He stopped eating and he said. Not only that, when he was, depending on who he was with, when he was with one Shishya, he said, that person was hard-headed, so he basically told him one thing. With another person, he said another thing. One Shishya, he said, when somebody is abusing your guru, how can you tolerate it? You should kill the person. What a loser you are, what a coward you are. Like that he taunted one Shishya. I think it was Premananda, Yogananda, I think. One Shishya, he was like that. Another Shishya, I think Niranjanananda, he was like, when somebody was abusing me on a boat, when you were coming on a boat to this place, I heard that you fought with that person. Is that the name you want to bring to your guru? You want people to remember your guru as somebody who has a Shishya who is hard-headed and fights with everybody. You can't tolerate just a bad word about your guru. I mean, is that really what you think of me? Like that. So he basically, his attitude changes because you can't say the same thing to everybody. Different people have different strengths and weaknesses. So you can't have the same message for everybody. You can't tell everybody, Gospel 1, Gospel 2, Gospel 3, or 10 commandments. You can't give it to everybody. One person will have to be more kind. One person will have to be more strong. So, Mercury can show that. Mercury can show somebody who adopts based on who he is associating with. And who doesn't differentiate between people. Who will be nice with everybody, but in the right way. So that is why Mercury can show a Paramahamsa. Whereas a saint can be shown by anybody. A Siddha, probably shown by Venus, Ketu, etc. Like that, there are different classes of beings, Siddhas, Paramahamsas. All of them are good, but they are good in their own way, different ways. Rabau khadgadharo jatah kuje kuntayidhi bhavet. Rabau khadgadharo jatah means, actually we will continue in the next class. 38 is where we are. So from 39 we will continue tomorrow. So remember in the next class. So we are at 38, remember that. So he told me to stop stuff also, right? Okay, we will look at the chart. The data is 1971, November 27, 12:25:33 a.m. So basically 25 minutes after the date changed from November 26 to 27. 12:25:33 a.m. November 27, 1971, 12:25:33 a.m. 12 hours, 25 minutes, 33 seconds a.m. This is rectified by you?
We looked at this about a couple of years back.
Okay. So this is the rectified time.
Kind of it.
Okay. Indian Standard Time, 5 hours 30 minutes east of GMT. The place is Sikandrabad. One more Sikandrabad chart from Seshu. 78 degrees 30 minutes east, 17 degrees 27 minutes north. Okay. Lagna should be 14 degrees 59 minutes Leo. Sun should be, oh you are still using the old version. You should switch to, huh?
Either of you have the new version. I think the new version will be.
Yeah, give me another computer.
You updated it.
Bring the chart.
Sairam. Yeah, update share now.
Yeah, you should update to 7.4 and
Major version, major release into. Major release changes into.
there are several. You have it.
This won't be of any use anyway.
Hmm?
10.3 something. Yeah. అది పెట్టమంటారా?
Yeah, if you want to put.
మీకు పనిచేదా?
ఇది తీసుకోండి మేము దాంట్లో చూస్తాం.
అది కట్టినారా? అక్కడ
Data is okay. Okay, we are going to look at a chart. The data is 1971, November 27, 12:25:33 a.m. Indian Standard Time, 5 hours 30 minutes east of GMT. The place is Sikandrabad. 78 degrees 30 minutes east, 17 degrees 27 minutes north. The Lagna should be 10 degrees Leo and moon should be at 24 degrees 31 minutes Aquarius. Okay. So, Seshu Garu, so what are we seeing?
We want to look at the profession, career and money.
Profession, career and money.
Correct.
Profession, career and money.
And
Okay.
the thing is, he's a CPA.
He's a CPA. Do you have the chart notes saved? You should save notes. Okay. He's a CPA.
He's a CPA. He is a CPA and he's in business for last 10 years.
Okay.
He split from his partner about 3 months back.
So he's in business for last 10 years as a CPA. He split from his partner when?
About 3 months back.
3 months back. Okay.
In January.
February, January. This February, January, he split from his partner of several years.
Partner of several years.
Okay.
Classmate and
Classmate and okay. Okay. So he was partnering with his classmate and he split now. Okay.
And now he is taken up a full-time position as CFO in a mining company.
So now he is working as a CFO full-time in a mining company. Okay.
So we want to look at his
So the outlook for the next few years, how things are, because he made a big change, how the time is going to be.
Professor career.
Okay, how his money will be.
Big stakes at it.
Okay. First of all, let us verify the data. Apparently, we saw this chart a few years back and this was the rectified time. So, we'll assume that this time is right, but we want to just see actually the Lagna is barely crossing 15 degrees. So, probably we wanted the Dashamsha to be a particular sign. Basically, we wanted it to be the 6th sign in Leo. So, from Sagittarius, we changed to Capricorn probably. That is why the time is up to seconds basically we rectify that it has to be that or later. Probably the given time was 12:25 or something. So we'll see. First look at the Dashamsha. So if you look at the Dashamsha, let's look at the all divisional longitudes also to judge the bhavas. Okay. So does the fact that he is a CPA, does it make sense with this chart? First, it has to make sense with the Dashamsha, right? Does it make sense to you?
CA in India.
Pardon me?
Basically in India.
In India, so CA. The
CPA.
work is the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So does it make sense? Does it make sense to you? Could he be a CPA with this chart? Do you remember on what basis we rectified? We must have used Dashamsha because it is on a Dashamsha border. Do you remember what was the basis for which we rectified?
Based on his profession.
Just based on profession or some event in the profession, like when he joined job, when he got promoted, when there was a good time?
I think Sagittarius will be different.
Pardon me?
Sagittarius Lagna, because 7th Lord Mercury is in Lagna.
Yeah. Right. That is what I was thinking. Sagittarius Lagna makes more sense. If you want somebody to be a CPA, right? If you have Lagna in Sagittarius, the 7th Lord Mercury is in Lagna. So it will be somebody in business. And moreover, the 10th Lord, 10th is the house of profession. 10th Lord is Mercury. Mercury is the one who shows CPS. Accounting is shown by Mercury. Right? So with this chart, still you can say Mercury is the 6th Lord. But the thing is, 10th house is very strong. 10th house has sun and moon. So why 6th house will give the profession? 10th house.
Mercury 22.
So what I am wondering is, did we actually, what was the original time given? And did we rectify it so that it is just below 15 degrees? And now with the Ainamsa change or something, is it actually coming just above 15 degrees? That is what I am wondering. Because this Capricorn Lagna doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not sure because I don't remember.
Okay. Let's say Lahiri. If we take Lahiri, it is coming to, it is at the Lagna is at 14 degrees 59 minutes 57.28. So it's just below 15 degrees. And the Lagna is Sagittarius. So I'm wondering if the time given was like 12:30 or something, and we said, no, Capricorn Lagna doesn't make sense. It has to be Sagittarius Lagna for this, for these events that are given. And then we changed it, but probably we were using Lahiri Ainamsa at the time because Jagannath Ainamsa wasn't yet in the software. So that is what I am suspecting. So what I will do is, I will go back to Jagannath Ainamsa, which is what we use now, and I will change it to the previous sign. Okay?
By what fact is it changing the time?
So the time is 12:25:33. What was the time I said earlier?
25:33.
Huh?
25:33. Because D10 means చెప్పినప్పుడు I clicked on D10 and found
Yeah.
out what's the difference in time.
Yeah.
0 seconds earlier it would change.
Oh, probably it's a fraction, yeah. Just to be safe, let's just make it 12:25:30. Okay. Yeah, actually, you can see it there. 12:25 when you it only shows 12:25:30 here, right here. But the thing is, actually, let me undo this. Undo all changes. Oops. Let's say.
I think that time also
One second.
in my system
So,
I see the Sagittarius Lagna, so
yeah, if I say,
I think Sagittarius.
yeah, if you use Lahiri, you will see Sagittarius. Good. Okay. So see, the thing is, now it says 0:25:33, but if I actually click on this, it says 0:25:32.535159. The bottom line is, it's basically fine. I think whatever question is available, it finds, okay, right now it's Capricorn. What is the time adjustment needed to make it Sagittarius? So at this time it is barely Sagittarius. If you add even a small fraction, it will go to Capricorn. So the thing is, let's just, like I said, we'll just change it to 30. And we don't know for sure, basically. It could still be wrong by a few seconds. Bottom line is, it is either this time or a few seconds, a couple of minutes earlier. Because we have already, my gut feeling is probably the given time to us was like 12:30 or something, a round number. Typically people when they give charts, they say 12:30, 12:15 like that. So probably we were given 12:30 and we went back to go to Sagittarius. So anyway, so this chart let us take, What else? Now, what is the dasha running? What is the dasha we should use for this chart? Is Lagna in Vargottama or something?
Yes.
It is. So what is the dasha that is applicable if Lagna is in Vargottama? Shatabdika dasha. So shall we use Shatabdika dasha started from Lagna? We'll use Shatabdika dasha started from Lagna, and we'll also cross check with the Vimshoti dasha just for cross verification. So we'll use two dashas. So based on the Shatabdika dasha started from Lagna, he was running Mars dasha from 1989 to 2009, and now he started Saturn dasha. So Mars dasha was over, and he starting Saturn dasha. He started Saturn dasha in the middle of last year, and then soon later, within 6 months, he's making a huge change in his career. Now, let us see how things are. Now let us look at the divisional longitudes. So I'm putting the Bhavachakra based on Dashansha here, okay? Now, how is Mars? How is Mars? See, if you use signs as houses, you will think that Mars is in the 8th house, right? So Sagittarius is ascendant. Counting from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is here. So it seems like Mars is in the 8th house. But if you actually take the longitude into consideration, if you look at the Bhavachakra, where is Mars?
7th house.
He is actually in the 7th house. So Mars is in the 7th house. Right? Now, which is he a benefic or a malefic for this Lagna? He is a functional benefic because Lagna is here, he is the 5th lord of Purvanya. So he is a functional benefic. He is the lord of Purvanya, he is a functional benefic. So he should do good to the career. And he is in the 7th house of business. So he doesn't give service for somebody else, but he gives a partnership. 7th house is relationships, partnerships, business, etc. So he was in the business. He was in business with a partner, and he was doing that work. So, and why is CA? Well, Mercury is very strong. Mercury is the 7th lord, he is in Lagna, he is also 10th lord. So he shows business as well as the overall work. So because of a strong Mercury, he is a chartered accountant. Moreover, that Mercury is in Sagittarius, a Jupiterian sign. And Jupiterian sign show finance world. So not only is the planet Mercury, because Mercury can show accounting, also mathematics. He can be a mathematics teacher or something. But because of the Jupiterian influence and a strong 2nd house, etc., he was in.
It's in the 12th house now, sir.
Pardon me? Right. It may be in the 12th house, but he is in Sagittarius. He is in Jupiter's sign. So house may be 12, but he is in the sign of Jupiter. So it can be Jupiter's signs can show law, teaching, or finance world. So he was in the finance world, and he was a accountant given by Mercury. And because the Mars dasha was running, it was a good period, and he was in a business. He was in a partnership. Okay?
He was in Manakar, so
Pardon me? Yes.
so were there problems
Yes, Mars is in Manakarka Sthana. But if
He started, they went very well for about
no,
6 years.
1 second. If he is in Manakarka Sthana, what does it mean?
His lordship is
The lordship will suffer a little bit. But the house why Manakarka Sthanas are defined like that? A planet has a particular house as Manakarka Sthana if the planet is so attached to that particular house that it takes care of where he is and forgets the signs owned by it. For example, in the case of Mars, 7th house is the house of business. So if you put Mars is the planet of business, planet of enterprise. So if you put him in the house of enterprise, he will basically dedicate himself to it. He will forget his other responsibilities. His other responsibility here is owning the 5th house. So the 5th house may suffer. But as far as 7th house is concerned, he will basically give excellent results. So this is a very good period for business. But the only thing is he is debilitated. And he is afflicted by Ketu. Is Ketu's affliction strong?
Will you see the debilitation when he is in
Pardon me?
Bhavachakra or in the natal Dashansha? Natal Dashansha.
Natal Dashansha. Bhavachakra, in Bhavachakra he is not in Gemini. It seems like he is in Gemini. It's just a representation so that you know which house he is in. Counting is easy, that's it. It's just an artificial chart. He is in Cancer period. He is not in Gemini. He is. You look at the actual Dashamsha to see debilitation and exaltation. So he is in debility. So what do you say about the debilitation? Is that bad or good, or what do you say? Is that Nijabhanga?
Debilitation in 8th house is also okay, right? It's not that bad.
But debilitation is?
In 8th house.
He is in the 7th house actually. House is, he is in Cancer.
Cancer, but in...
And he is debilitated. And he is in the 7th house. So debilitation, what does debilitation show?
One doesn't want to be there. That's
Yeah.
why.
Right?
not happy for him.
It can also show, debilitation can show material attitude, whereas exaltation can show idealistic attitude. So maybe more down to earth, pragmatic attitude. Oh, this is not right, I know, but we need to do this in order to, I know that this is not the right thing to do, I'm not happy doing it, but this is what it takes to get things done. So I will do it. That attitude is shown by debilitated. I mean, like I said in the beginning, exalted planets are like happy people, excited people. And
Being in a party, you said.
right. And debilitated planets are like people who are not happy, who are unhappy, pissed off. But there is a different take on that. Somebody, if you know that you don't like doing a particular trick, it's the wrong thing to do. You are not happy, but you have to do it to get things done. Then suppose you go through it, you just do it. The thing is, you did it, but you are not very excited about it. So that can also be shown by debilitated planets. That is why we say several times, exalted planet will show idealism, whereas debilitated planets will show pragmatism. So, Mars is debilitated, it can show some pragmatic attitude, making some compromises. Basically, if he is exalted, you will say he is somebody who will not give a bribe or who will not do wrong things, etc. But here, maybe he will actively bribe, he will show wrong things in the books, he will cook the books, that kind of things he is capable of doing with a debilitated Mars.
Hard work also.
It can also show hard worker. Somebody who
He is actually very hard worker.
yes, it can. Debilitated planets can show extremely hardworking people. Whereas for exalted planets, they can show things coming easily. You don't need to work hard. But with debilitated planets, you have to work hard. So that is also another possibility.
Retrograde planets, right?
Now, yes. Now, is there Nijabhanga?
He is with Chandra, yes.
For me?
Yes.
Chandra
Chandra
is
to
in the
Chandra.
ninth house. Moon is at 24 Aquarius.
Yeah.
Oh, D3 is Chandra.
See, from Lagna, both Jupiter and Moon are in Kendra. Right? From Lagna, if you look at the Bhava Chakra, Jupiter is in first house, Moon is in 10th house. So the planet who is exalted in that sign is Jupiter. And the owner of the sign is Moon. Both are in Kendra. So he does have Nijabhanga. So that is good. Nijabhanga for the fifth planet is a Rajyoga. So that is good. So Mars will give pragmatism, he will give good work ethic, he will make him a workaholic and very business minded because he is in the 7th house in Manakarka Sthana. So business minded that he will ignore other things. And the Ketu affliction is bad. Mars is 5th lord of Purva, but Ketu is 12th lord of giving up things. Now Ketu, that is bad. But if you look at the degrees, Mars is at 29 degrees Cancer and Ketu is at 20 degrees Cancer. So there is 9 degrees difference. Right? So it's not too far, but it is not too close as well. It's not within like 5-6 degrees. So the affliction of Ketu can be ignored safely. So basically Mars is good. So the dasha that has gone by is good for his business and that makes excellent sense. Now how is the current dasha of Saturn? Where is Saturn?
Why did the break happen?
Pardon me?
Who gave the break
Which break?
from his business?
Saturn. Saturn dasha started. See, Saturn dasha started in June 2009.
Correct. 6 months after he gave the break.
Yeah. Probably it was in the, once that started, I mean, this is plus or minus 1 month. This is not necessarily accurate. So around July or so, he basically really kicked in the dasha. So his mind was, Mars influence on his mind slowly receded and Saturn's influence increased. And then slowly, when the right transit came and the right Prachanda dasha came, maybe he started thinking about this. Because if he did it in January, it was in his mind for a few months. He wouldn't just suddenly think and then decide. So probably it was happening for a few months. So it was basically Saturn who made him break this partnership. And we will ask why. Why did Saturn break the partnership?
Yes, second and third lord.
Pardon me?
He is second and third lord. The second lord is a Maraka, right?
He is the second and third lord, yeah.
Partnerships are from A7.
Partnerships are from A7, right? Business is also from A7.
A7 is in
Yeah?
fourth house.
Yeah, A7 is in 4th house.
Saturn is in
Saturn is in it, right? But why did he break it?
actually it's depleting the
Why did he break it? See, if you look at the longitudes, right? Where is A7? A7 is partnership, right? 7th house is a relationship with somebody else. A7 is how that comes across tangibly. There is a formal relationship on the paper. So A7 is the one that we are interested in. It is a 10 degree 30 minutes Aries. 10 degree 30 minutes Aries is where A7 is in D10. Right? So remember that 10.5 degrees Aries. Now Mars is the owner of that. So apart from the fact that Mars was in the 7th house, he is the owner of A7. So there is no wonder entire Mars Dasha he was pretty much in a partnership. He was doing business. Right? Now Saturn, it seems like if you look at just time, pardon me?
Because A7 is in Aries and Aries, Mars is running.
Mars was owning it, right? Now Saturn, it may seem like A7 and Saturn are together, right? A7 and Saturn are together. But if you take houses from A7, A7 is at 10 degree Aries, so the first house will be from 10 degree Aries to 10 degree Taurus. Whereas Saturn, he is at 4 degree Aries. Actually, in the Bhavachakra, you can take A7 as the reference and see. If you can't basically do the math manually, just take A7 as reference in the D10. Then you will see A7 is in Aries, Saturn is in the 12th house. So for the business, Mars is the Lagna Lord in the 4th house, having Argala on it. Whereas Saturn is the 12th Lord. So that can show break, giving up. He is also Badhaka Lord from A7. Taking A7 as Lagna, he is the Badhaka Lord. So Badhaka Lord, and also he is in the 12th house of giving up. So that is why Saturn, as soon as he came, he broke that partnership given by Mars. Moreover, there are so many other ways to look at it. Mars is the owner of it. Saturn is not really a friend of it. Suppose Jupiter was there, right? Even if he was in the 12th house, he wants to break it. Still, being a friend, he wouldn't have really broken it. Maybe he would have caused some compromise. Maybe he would have given up the business to his partner. He would have taken more role, and he would have been passive or something like that is also possible. 12th house is not just giving up completely. Some compromise, some lessening is also possible. But because Saturn is an enemy of Mars, they are not really good friends. Moreover, they are not even, if you look at the, forget it, they are not really friends. So that is one thing. The other thing is, so that makes sense. And the other interesting thing is, which business did you say he is going into now? Mining. Who shows mining, all those things? Who's the planet of mining? Saturn. So, when Saturn Dasha started, some kind of Saturnian influence is really coming. So, mining, oil, coal, all these kind of things are shown by our heavy industries, old-fashioned industries. Those are all shown by Saturn. So, he is basically getting into Saturnine industry. Old-time industry. So,
Saturn is in all the Lagna, so it's not good for the status.
yeah, and let's see how it is for the status, okay? For that, let's take the chart from AL. Oops. Okay. Taking AL as Lagna.
Is the feature in
Yeah, 7.4. That's why I told you, download 7.4. It is available for a few months now.
I am off for a few months anyways now, so I will do it.
See, you are off for a few years.
I have been.
Effectively. Okay. So AL. Yeah, download it and look at the features.
Yeah.
AL. You can also, actually, I'll show you. One important feature is, you can say planetary aspect evaluation. You can choose divisional charts of interest. You can say Rashi, aspecting planets take in Rashi, aspected planets take in Rashi. Right? Let's say Dashamsha. Let's take the aspects of planets Dashamsha on planets in Dashamsha. Typically, you will be looking at both in the same divisional chart. You won't be cross-referencing D24 planets aspecting D10 divisional, D10 planets, etc. Influence of education on the career, etc. Typically, you won't be doing it. You will be looking at one chart. So, D10 on D10, okay? If you do this, who's aspecting Lagna? Suppose you see. Sun has 51% aspect. So, this is based on Parasara's actual formulas for quantifying the aspect. You can see, if you take the 7th house from Lagna, right? 7th house from Lagna has aspect from Mercury has 92% aspect. So the business is a military business, accounting business. Like that, you can see who's aspecting, who has how much aspect. Saturn 100% aspect. So even in Saturn period, he will be doing business because he is aspecting 7th house. Like this, you can see not just Lagna houses, but you can take various planets. You can take the Arudhas. You can take 7th house from Aru Lagna, 11th house from Aru Lagna, like that. You can take various.
You do this from between divisional charts too, not
You can do between divisional charts. You can do between transit and natal. You can say transit Rasi positions or natal D10 positions. What are the aspects? And you will get the actual quantification of it. So this is actually a useful feature. You can say, for example, A7, who are having influence on it. Moon is aspecting, this person is aspecting, like that. Saturn has no aspect at all. You can look at the all. You can say 11th house from Aru Lagna, right? Who is aspecting the 11th house from Aru Lagna? Because what is Aru Lagna? Status of the person. What is 11th house? Gain in the status. Parasara says planets aspecting the 11th from Aru Lagna will increase the status of the person, whereas 12th house will decrease the status. You look at Mars, 97% aspect on 11th from Aru Lagna in the Samsa, right? And if you look at Saturn, he has 80% aspect. So even Saturn is actually good for the status, even though he is in Aru Lagna, because he is aspecting 11th from Aru Lagna, he will actually give gains only. Anyway, so this is another feature. Like this, there are several useful features, and all the researches based on divisional longitudes that I mentioned, like the stationary transit, Arura Padas. The Arura Padas that we are finding here are based on the longitudes, not based on science like earlier. That and the Vishwatri Dasha progression, all these are available in this version, so you should really have this version. Okay, so let's go back to what we were doing. So Saturn, her point is, Saturn is in Aru Lagna, right? Aru Lagna is in Pisces, and Saturn is in the first house for it. So is it good or bad? Saturn in Aru Lagna, is it good or bad? It's not great. Moreover, Saturn is a functional malefic for this chart. By the way, that is another point. Saturn is second and third lord. He is a functional malefic. The earlier Dasha was that of a functional benefic, Mars. Now functional malefic is right. So that itself is not good. And now a functional malefic in the Aru Lagna. What does it mean? He will give some lowering of the status. His status, his image will be depleted to some extent, or it will be lowered because of Saturn.
Will be seen as a loser.
He will be seen as a loser or seen as somebody who's not that great.
And who is not
Right. So his image will go through some, as far as career is concerned, his image will go through, his image will actually take a beating. Saturn is the giver of beating. So there will be some beating in the image. But of course, it's only 6 months now, or 8 months. This is basically several years of Dasha. How many years? 30 years of Dasha. So during these 30 years, his image will go down. It's not really good for his image.
The retrogression of Saturn, would it indicate something? Because it is retrograde as well as...
He is debilitated and retrograde. Is that good? That's good. That's good. So there is a Nijabhanga. There is a Nijabhanga of Saturn as well. Nijabhanga of a functional malefic, because that's not good. So the thing is, functional malefic wants to give setbacks, problems, and because of Nicha he is unable to give, but when the Nijabhanga is activated he is able to give. So the thing is, in the beginning this Dasha will start off well, but the thing is, slowly there will be some lowering in his status. So materially this is not a tremendous Dasha. This is definitely Mars Dasha is better than this Dasha.
So I'll throw in something.
Yeah.
Isn't Chandra breaking the retrogression and Nijabhanga here? Yeah, so it is retrogressed and then exalted, and then Chandra breaking the Nijabhanga. So
Why is Chandra breaking?
G10 7th house club.
Why is, no, actually, it is broken, but why is Chandra breaking, you said? Why does Chandra have anything to do with this Nijabhanga? Nijabhanga is given by a planet who is exalted in that sign, Sun, or the planet who owns the sign, Mars. They should be in a Kendra from either Lagna or Moon. That is the definition. So Chandra has nothing to do with Nijabhanga, but Sun and Mars, both Sun and Mars, they are in Kendras from Lagna. They may be in Kendras from Moon also, I didn't check, but they are definitely in Kendras from Lagna. Both Sun and Mars. So they give Nijabhanga. Okay, so there is Nijabhanga.
Raj Yoga is cancelled
by
Mars.
But at the same time, he is also in
It's already,
retrograde.
it's already there.
There, and he is retrograde. So bottom line is this Saturn is not really great, but it will be a mixed period. We can't say it will be terrible, but it will be a mixed period. This period will be mixed.
But it depends again because Saturn
But the gain,
is a 30-year period.
for me, yes, it's a 30-year period.
So now it depends upon the
Antardasha. Right. Now, if you look at the aspects I showed earlier, right, from the Aru Lagna, the 11th house, the 11th from Aru Lagna is owned and aspected by Saturn. So the thing is, materially there will be gains, but his image will be that of a, his image will not be that of a daring businessman or something. His image will go down. So materially he will be making money fine, but it will be, world will think that he is not making enough money, as much money as he was making, something like that. There will be some undesirable image change as Saturn Dasha sets. And now the first Antardasha will be very long, right? It will be 9 years. The Shatabrika Dasha, Saturn Antardasha itself is very long. So let us actually go to Pratyanta Dasha to see the variations within the next few years. So next 2 years will be again Saturn Pratyanta Dasha. After that will be Sun Pratyanta Dasha and then Moon Pratyanta Dasha. Now, as far as material things are concerned, right? Sun and Moon, are they good for image or bad for image? Sun, if you take, he is a 9th lord from Lagna, he is a benefic, he is a Subhagraha, and he is in quadrant from Aru Lagna. So he is good. So Sun Antardasha will be good. So, pardon me, what Dharma?
End of 9th lord in 10th house.
Who's, yeah, 9th lord in 10th house, right. But 10th lord is nowhere there. Mercury is not involved.
Yeah, Mercury is not involved.
Yeah.
But 9th lord in 10th house.
He is placed. Sun is very well placed. Sun is a very good planet.
Does it give Dharma Karmarika Yoga kind of?
No. He's just Dharmadhipati who is well. Bhagyadhipati who is well placed. That's it. It's not Dharma Karmarika Yoga. But yoga has Dharma, Karma. Both Adhipatis should be involved. So if Mercury was with Sun, then the yoga would have.
So is that just the houses, both the houses are involved together, then it's
not really of consequence. But it means Sun is actually very good. So based on Lagna as well as from Arudha Lagna, Sun is very well placed. So Sun Antardasha will be very good. Even from Saturn if you take, Sun is the 5th lord of Purvapunya. I don't know if he is in the 7th house or 6th house, but irrespective of it, he is the 5th lord. So his Antardasha will be good. So 2012 will be a good year. The first half of 2012 will be good. But until then, things will be slow. Another thing is Saturn will slow down things. So his career will slow down a little bit. Mars is the mover and shaker, right? He is the commander-in-chief of the planetary cabinet. Whereas Saturn is the old man of the cabinet. So things will be a little slow and so on. So the bottom line is, he made an interesting move, but unfortunately it does not seem like, compared to previous Dasha, the next Dasha is really a great Dasha. It seems like the previous Dasha is his best. So he won't lose much in this Dasha, but he will lose some status. He won't lose money-wise, he won't lose, but status-wise, this is not a great Dasha. So bottom line is, this is a dubious move. This is an okay move. This is not really a great move. It won't like his life will collapse because of it, but there won't be any benefit because of it. Now to see the money, we can let's look at the D4. D4 is the chart for fortune according to Shastra. D2 he said Sampadadikam, but the thing is whether Sampada has different meanings. Whether it means wealth or not is unclear. And fortune, the word Bhagya he used for D4. And Bhagya is not just residence. Bhagya is fortune. Let us look at the D4 for wealth instead of the D2. So if you look at the D4, how is Saturn Dasha, how is Mars Dasha? So the thing is, somebody may make a move in the career and move may not fly. The move may be an average move, but it may not make a difference. He may still make ton of money being the CFO of a company. So financially he may be okay. So let us look at the fortune. If you look at D4, let us switch this to D4 now.
And how is the following Moon Dasha after that? Moon
Antardasha? Moon Antardasha is not great. Moon is the 8th lord, right? It can give a fall. So Saturn may be holding steady, Sun may give some benefit, and in Moon there can be a fall. So 2012 second half and 2013 first half, there can be some disappointing developments in the career at the time. So because Saturn is also showing some kind of fall, that may be given in the moon under the sun. Right. Okay. But in the 8th house. Actually, is he in the 8th house? He's in the 10th house. No, Mars, moon. From Arul Lagna. Okay, from Arul Lagna, he's in the 5th house. He's the 5th lord from Arul, aspecting Arul Lagna. But the thing is, from Lagna, he's the 8th lord. So he's the planet who shows fall. And he is reflecting the 9th lord of fortune. So the thing is, bottom line is, forget the placement from Arul Lagna. The thing is, if somebody is aspecting Arul Lagna, he can actually make the status fall also. So what his nature is from Lagna is important. You can't ignore it. So from Lagna, moon is the 8th lord afflicting 9th lord. So showing loss of fortune. Fall in the position. So given the fact that he is aspecting Arul Lagna and he is aspecting the Dasha lord, there is a chance of some fall in the career. So losing the job or some problem, controversy is possible in the moon period. On the other hand, when Mars under the Dasha comes, right? Mars is a very good planet. He is 5th lord, he is A7 lord. He may actually get into some new business or some new venture. So Mars can even give a new venture. So the way I look at it, very certain. 2012 second half is a slightly bad period, dangerous period. You should be careful then, not play any politics, etc. And actually after moon it's not Mars, it's Venus. Because it's Shatabdi Dasha. But the thing is, 2016 to 18 seems good. There is a chance of some new business or something at that time.
So is this a good chart for him to start his own business? What made him to actually go for an employment compared to this?
He was in employment?
No, this is more like an employment here, a safe or whatever. He is choosing an employment somewhere. Right?
No.
Correct.
No. But the thing is, earlier, see, 7th lord is in Lagna, Mars is in 7th house, A7 lord in 7th house, and Mars, Karaka of enterprise. This is a pakka enterprising chart. He was an entrepreneur until now. But why now he came, we'll answer that. Now, the thing is, if you look from Lagna, let's change this. From Lagna, okay. So, Saturn is aspecting the 6th house, right? Saturn is in the 4th house and he is aspecting the 6th house from Lagna. So, he has some aspect on 7th house, but he has more aspect on the 6th house. Moreover, remember this, Saturn and Mars are the opposite. Saturn is the servant and Mars is the enterprising person. So, business Karka is Mars and service Karka is Saturn. So, he changed from Mars Dasha to Saturn Dasha. And moreover, Saturn is aspecting the 6th house of service, whereas Mars was in the 7th house of business. So, Mars Dasha was enterprise and Saturn Dasha, he's back, he's doing some service now. He's working for somebody else.
So, he will be back maybe on his own by 2000.
See, in Saturn Dasha, it is difficult. Saturn is in general not conducive. But maybe when Mars influence comes either Prachanda Dasha or as a Antar Dasha, there is a chance of actually making a transition again. Now let us look at the D4. We are running out of time. Let us.
You can do it next week.
Huh?
You can do it next week.
Okay, we'll continue in the next week. But you give some thought to the D4. Look at the D4, and I want you to actually say something in the next class, and then I will say what I want to say. Okay? So with that I will end the class. So good luck to this person. Om Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Dharmika Jana Sukhino Bhavantu Yavat Bhumandale Sanatana Dharmo Vardhatu Visheshatah Bharatakhande Om Shanti Shanti Shanti